Now, the age-old debate we have as Tottenham fans is, are you Levy in or are you Levy out? And, you know, myself being a massive Spurs fan, we debate this a lot. I debate this a lot. And usually, I'm quite on the fence about it because I can see the positives of Levy and I can see the negatives of Levy's tenureship. You know, we haven't won much, have we, on the pitch? One trophy in 20-odd years of ownership, but we have come on leaps and bounds in recent years. You know, we have broken into the big six when it comes to finances. You know, we are the sixth biggest club when it comes to finances, but we do struggle when it comes to the might of the Manchester clubs, Arsenal, Liverpool and Chelsea at splashing the cash. But you could also say, on the other flip side, we're quite good with our finances, hence why we're very good with PSR and FFP at the moment. And over recent years, there's been a lot of talk about takeover. What would be Levy's price? You know, ENIC and Joe Lewis have taken a bit of a step back, haven't they? They're not really at the forefront of the football club as much as they were in recent years. And then also Daniel Levy has taken a slight step back. You know, he's brought in the likes of Scott Munn, Johan, Lange, other footballing people to sort of do his work while he deals with the business side of things, which personally I think he's very good at for the football club. He brings in a lot of revenue outside of, you know, just having to sell players year after year. But today's video, and hence why I am doing one today, is over something that was reported by the Times, because there's been more talk again about takeover. This is probably now the third or fourth video I've done on takeovers and Levy and all that sort of stuff. You know, I've done videos on is he changing, I've done videos on, you know, I think one of my first videos I did was saying that the club had to be sold if Levy wasn't willing to shift. I think we were being linked with lots of, was it Nasser El Khalifi and, you know, the group involved with PSG, but, you know, that didn't really come to fruition. There's been lots of talks about American investors, which, you know, it all seems like a lot of paper rumours and, you know, nothing really with much traction. But there is something that seems to be, you know, there's some murmurings, and it's from the Times as well, so they are quite a trustworthy source. And there was a bit of news recently as well, a month or so back, about Levy, ENIC and all of them guys sort of willing to let go of a bit of Tottenham, sell a percentage. But before I deep dive into this and give my opinion on it, if you are new to the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, why don't you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I've said recently, I've just come back from Euro 2024 and I'm back again on the grind of uploading more videos. So without further ado, you know, you might as well become a member. Link in the description down below for that as well. But enough about all those plugs. Let's get into this article and mainly the crux of it, which was in a tweet by Tottenham Tears. And it read, Tottenham Hotspur is in talks to sell a minority stake in a deal that could value it up at 3.75 billion and pave the way for Joe Lewis and his family to sever ties with the Premier League Football Club. Tottenham chairman Daniel Levy is seeking an investment that values the club at between 3.5 billion and 3.75 billion, including debt. While the terms of any deal have not been finalised, City sources expect Spurs to sell about 10%. The club is being advertised by bankers from Rothschild on the sale. The financier, Amanda Staveley, who brokered the deal for Saudi Arabia's public investment fund to take over Newcastle United, is understood to be among the parties to express an interest in Tottenham. The club is also likely to attract an interest from American investors. So there's a lot to digest there. First of all, that the fact that Levy always values us at quite a ceiling price. You can tell that he is not that keen to really let go of Spurs. He knows it is, you know, something that is becoming a very big revenue, amazing revenue stream for him. You know, the fact of the stadium and the money that's gone into that, you know, £1 billion was spent on the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, bit of an overspend, but you got to think of the events that have been put on there. You know, obviously the football games, which I think now compared to Manchester United with the second highest match day earnings when it comes to ticket prices, food vendors and all that sort of stuff. Then you've got to think of the other events that it holds. You know, the stuff that I've climbed the stadium, I've gone over the roof, stuff like that. You know, the stuff that the club puts on, you know, the Dare Skywalk, I think it's called, and the Absal and all that sort of, you know, activities, you could say. But then you've got to think of the other things they put on. It's got the NFL pitch, so that's a money maker for Daniel Levy and Tottenham Hotspur. Then on top of that, you've got concerts. I think who's been there? Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Pink, to name just a few. So again, another money maker, and it's, I think the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium will also be a stadium that is being part of the next Euros that the UK is hosting. Not many other clubs up and down the country are hosting at their stadium, but Tottenham is a shiny new stadium that is able to do it. So when you're thinking about the way that we're valued, and it says including debt because we still owe a bit of money on that, that's why we're valued so high. Obviously Chelsea was sold for a good couple of billion, around that sort of mark, a little bit more. But maybe Tottenham value themselves that bit higher because, it's a London Premier League club. It's got the stadium. It's got the infrastructure. It just needs a bit more. Whereas like the likes of Newcastle needed a bit of work. Everton are being looking for sales. Little clubs like Burnley are being picked up by American investors because it's a bit cheaper. This is, 3.5 billion to 3.75 billion. You're looking at someone who has to come in with a lot of moolah in their pocket. And, the bankers, Rothschild, they're advising on the sale. They're usually quite involved in the finances of this. And also, another thing to take into account is this whole Joe Lewis and his family, so ENIC, looking to get out of Spurs, it would seem they are. I think Daniel Levy is he's involved in a majority of the ownership. But Joe Lewis and ENIC, they seem like, it's coming to the close of their tenure. Joe Lewis obviously was involved in a bit of a scandal recently. I think I've done a video on that as well where I went more into detail. But he got involved in insider trading, nothing to do with Spurs. It was to do with other business acquisitions, but that's boring chat, so we won't really talk about that. And the thing that's quite interesting is the whole Amanda Staveley. I've seen mixed reports on this. Apparently, some people saying it's a load of rubbish. But obviously, she has stepped away from Newcastle, but obviously was involved with, as the article says, the Saudi Public Investment Fund acquiring the club. But yeah, I've seen mixed reports on whether she is willing to come in and be involved in another Premier League club, and American investors, we've seen the likes of Todd Bowley and Egbali coming at Chelsea. The big players at the moment are, Saudi Arabia, Middle Eastern consortiums and American consortiums, because that's where the money is. And a lot of them have to pair up really to afford Premier League clubs. And a stable Premier League club like Tottenham will hold its value. Obviously, it's not got as much prestige as some other clubs in the Premier League. I'm talking about the big six. We saw how much, United was being touted ahead of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's minority investment. So maybe there's something like that might happen. Obviously, I don't see Tottenham being sold in its entirety, but reports like this keep coming about, and I think Levy is keen to get rid of at least 10%. And something that we're so hunky dory with our finances in a good way, in the sense of we're squeaky clean. We were one of only few teams to really spend in the January transfer window. We've already forked out 40 million for Archie Gray, so we are willing to spend because we're not really, our net spend is always quite healthy. But these reports are so one, they're few and far between, and two, you just don't know. Proof has to be in the pudding. I don't run away with this as much as I'd like to, because as I say, my ideal world for Tottenham and how I'd like to see Tottenham run is Levy is like a chair, or like is involved in the business side of things. I think, the whole him bringing in Scott Munn and Johan Lange, as I've mentioned, we've seen in recent years, whenever Levy's involved in transfer negotiations, we end up getting, he's not been as good as Paratici and people like that. For example, he was dealing with the Jed Spence transfer, and we know that went a bit wrong in the sense of the price went up. He was negotiating because obviously some say he's got a better relationship with English clubs than probably some other people at the football club. So yeah, it's very confusing about the whole setup. Maybe that in an ideal world, Levy still stays there in a business sense because he is a great businessman. I can't argue against that. I think he is really good at You know, he's good at selling. We always get top tier fees, but whether it's, you know, I've seen the likes of Harry Redknapp, Martin Yole, former managers, you know, Levy is a tricky customer. He has come to blows and clashed with our managers and other people at other clubs when it comes to negotiations. But yeah, it's I'm not sure about this. I feel like I'm going to put, you know, a bit of a dampener on it. I can't see it happening per se. It won't happen soon. This is something that will go on for a little while. We know how finances work, and you know there's a lot of stuff at the moment going on with football finances. You know, obviously City and Chelsea's FFP stuff, and Everton are still up in the air, and Nottingham Forest, and you know, so it will be. You know, it's one to watch, but you have to wait and see really, because I'm no financial expert. I wanted to comment on this because it is very interesting news. But yeah, I can't see I can't see a full sale anytime soon. But maybe a 10% could happen. But you know, the club are not going to jump into these things. You know, if Joe Lewis wants to sell his majority share, maybe that happens. If Daniel Levy wants to, you know, get a little bit of an investment, something to hopefully take us to that next level, and he backs Ange Postecoglou, that would be of note and worthy. If it does happen, it would be very, very good. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. A little story over the weekend, obviously. Something a bit different, talking about the finances. I'd like to know your thoughts on what you think of it, and what are your opinions on Levy. I'd like to know what you think of, are you Levy in, Levy out, all that sort of good stuff. And if you have enjoyed it, you know, leave a like on the video, subscribe to Sonny Talk Spurs, and also you can become a member. Link in the description down below. And until next time, I've got a very special video coming this week about Tottenham's youth and academy and the signings that they have made over recent years. But until then, I'll see you pretty soon. Ciao, ciao, ciao.